saying, this is my wife, Shelley, who came with me today. Shelley's been with me a lot. Stand up so everybody may see. Thank you. Together we have 5 daughters. They range in age from 7 to 21. The oldest is a senior at Vanderbilt. We have one over in school in South Carolina, another in school in Connecticut, one who's in Virginia, and then a little second grader in Nashville. And I should mention too that we have a house just right over my shoulder up here in Franklin County. And about 2 years ago, when we live in Nashville, but when I say, well, where do you live? I say, well, where I really live is Sewanee. But about 2 years ago, I started writing a plan for the state because I was really concerned about a lot of different things that are happening in the state, and really believed that a lot of these were connected and that there's so much that we can do. You know, when you look at the state and we talk about our assets and our net worth and things like that, people like to talk about their 401ks or the value of their house, but not as much anymore. The real net worth of our state is going to be our base of educated workers. It's going to be our modernized facilities, our mountains, our streams, and our farmland. Our farmland comprises 50% of our state acreage. It's about 11 million acres. But late in my career, I went back to school. I went to business school. Shelley went to business school. But I believe that every single Tennessean deserves the opportunity to go back for more education every single time that they need it. Now, there are a lot of changes that are taking place in the economy, and the point that I want to make is that we're not in a recession. I was in the investment finance business for 30 years, and one thing that you learn how to do if you really approach it correctly is that you recognize that in investing, you're not figuring out so much what's going to happen. You have to figure out what's happening now and who the players are without really understanding what the game is. And we recognized back in 1998 that we had a business that was not going to work going forward into the future, and that we had to shut that business down. Now, that was a small part of an overall larger company, but that was one of the hardest things to do that we ever did, but we recognized that the worst thing that we could do for our customers was to keep going. Now, one of our first customers in that business happened to be TVA. And they gave us the opportunity to get started. But one of the best phone calls I ever made was to Pat Brackett in the retirement systems and say, you know, we have decided not to go forward. And he said, well, actually, I'm so glad you called because we're going to start doing things different than you just saved me a phone call. So, but I really appreciated that relationship. What I want to tell you today is that a lot of things have indeed changed in the economy, and we cannot just keep going forward on the same basis that we have in the past. If you look at Alabama, for example, they have taken their prospects for the future and taken what they have done in NASA and the rocket business and how that led to computer-aided design and manufacturing and how that is now leading toward nanotechnology and pharmaceuticals. And they have rooted that into their 7th grade education last year, their 11th grade education this year, and they're spreading it out across their education. If you look at Texas and their $1 billion investment in a wind farm, which was just completed, that's a big change. If you look at the Asheville recently, the $1.2 billion cost there, that represents a change that is happening. If you look across the spectrum, if you look at Iowa and their turn toward renewable energy, if you look at the solar farm, there is so much that's happening. Now, a lot of people will come in and they will talk about jobs and how we're going to create jobs. And very few people can tell you how it happens. And I'm going to tell you right now how you create jobs. If I gave you $1 on this end of the room and you had a business and you took it and you spent it with the next business and that dollar went from person to person to person or business to business across this room, then that's how you keep money in Tennessee and create jobs in Tennessee. We also have to recognize that the economy is going in a direction, and you can't change the direction of the economy. You either decide that you're on the front end of it or you're on the back end of it. And if you want to have more money in the economy and more jobs, then you have to educate toward where the economy is going where it has been. And that is part of why I'm running for governor. But 2 years ago, sitting up on our porch in Sewanee, I started writing a paper, which is our policy paper, my policy paper, which specifically lays out my plans for Tennessee and where I want to go in the future. The challenges, very briefly, how much time have I got left?
2.5.
Okay, challenges very briefly are the following. We are sending our money out of state for our energy. We need to keep that money in state, and now because of technological change, we can do that. We have a health care situation in this state that is 70% preventable disease. That means we can fix it. Preventable disease is a euphemism, just a pleasant way of saying self-inflicted disease. Part of that is early detection. Part of that is disease management, and we need to do a better job, but we can do it on the front end. But it is also partly diet, which is a nice way of saying food quality. People don't want to eat food with pesticides, growth hormones, insecticides, and made from artificial fertilizer. There's more that we can do to prevent disease than we're doing now. And then we also have to look at our education with our dropout rate, and I thought the panel up here before was outstanding. But we have to recognize that we're building a base of uneducated, unemployable people in this state, and we're at a point in time with the changes in energy, the changes in healthcare that are taking place, that we can affect enormous change in Tennessee and get at the front of the economy. And we have to do this, and we have to do it now, and that's why I'm running. And I'm running for governor so that we can compete against other states and compete with other countries all over the globe. We become a primary renewable energy leader, which means being a leader in the new economy, the green economy that we're already in. It means being a leader in solar, with the Solar Institute that's going into Oak Ridge. The solar farm, it means being a leader in our math, our science programs, so that they're practical to the new economy. And labor has a very distinctive role in that. It means being a leader in our community colleges and our technical schools, of which there are over 40 across the state, one within 30 minutes drive of every single Tennessean. It means being a leader with our energy efficient housing. We have geothermal. Colleges, universities, state office buildings across the state are moving toward renewable energy. We have to recognize that above other states, that Tennessee is the best situated to make this happen. We can be a state that other states send their money to, and other countries send their money to, so we get more money going through this state of ours. We have more opportunity to educate our workers, but we need to start it as early as we can and have more dual enrollment programs across through our high schools, but also in younger ages. And it means that labor and the unions have to be part of that. And it also means that with our health care, that we're spending money, so much money against ourselves that for the first time, we have to make the changes in preventable disease. We don't have a choice. The point of it all is, when you pull it together and you start talking about the money flowing through Tennessee and getting at the front of the economy, we have never before been able to do what we can do now. But now, if we don't do it, other states will take the opportunity. And as governor, I want to see to it that we are front and center in the new economy, and that's why I'm running.